Welcome mates, I'm Bloodthirsty Lord, but you can call me Lordy, and today we're back on Paragon once again. As you can see, there is the new hero Wraith. He just got released a couple of hours ago. We were able to play him in solo versus AI and understand his kit, and we've made a build for him that I personally think is the best build at the moment that I've created, or pretty much in the game, for the mid lane, because I love playing this character in the mid lane, but can also be used in the off lane as well. That's how you see my characters being played, or Wraith being played, as the mid lane or off lane. Let's try and get to this build as quick as possible. But mates, before we get to this video, make sure you smash that bloody like button. Let's try and get 200 likes on this video. Without further ado, let's get straight into this. So let's go to our profile section, let's go to our decks, and as you can see, we have the Wraith mid mix ups. That's pretty much the idea of this build. It's pretty much a mix ups of things you can use, and it's like little combinations and little things I have in this build. They can just go a completely different way than you expect if the player wants to change his build up within the current game. That's what's best about it. Let's go into the prime card. We have this card as the prime card due to the fact that we want to obviously have more damage output once we get the prime orb, so that's really great. That helps out quite a bit. And now let's move on to consumables, which will contain the barrier token, the mana pot, healer token, Empyrean mask, and blink charm. The barrier token has been picked due to the fact that the majority of the time you're versing another mid laner that does have ability damage as the main focus within his kits, so obviously that will help out quite a bit. Mana pot for mana, to keep you guys up with your mana consumption so you're able to use your abilities non-stop. Usually if you miss your sniper ability and not land the killing blow, you won't be able to get a refund on your mana. This can help out with that, just to keep you consistent on your mana, while also if you get ganked multiple times and you have to use your abilities non-stop or your Sonar Ward, this helps with keeping your mana up all the time, so that's really great. Healer token for health regeneration in the early game. Imperial mask, depending on whom I'm versing and what's happening in that current game, I'm able to switch stance to gain mana, to do damage, and be tanky, so that's really great. Then also blink charm for extra mobility in the early to mid game stages, because this character lacks mobility. Even though it's considered to be an elusive character, he's only elusive when he enters his ultimate, which is ultimate is like 140 seconds, something like that. It's ridiculous, the cooldown on that ability, but it's super effective. The majority of the time, if you enter a fight, which happens if you're in the mid-game to late-game stages, a team fight happens like nearly every 40 seconds to 60 seconds. So you have to be really careful of what fights you have. And obviously, Blink Charm does help you escape those fights with ease once the enemy is trying to jump you. So that's why we have the Blink Charm. Then we move on to our other items or equipment. We have the Lord's Ward, pretty much being our dummy ward, able to put a ward in the early game to gain vision, then delete it and go obviously to our starting items in the consumables. Pretty great. Then we have Burst Engine. We have 3 of them, as you can see right now. We have an early game version, then we have 2 final build versions as well. And this card will provide initial amounts of 6 power, 0.3 mana regen, followed up by the full upgrade of 12 power, alongside these upgrades of having Mage Cast. So obviously we have a lot of damage output coming out of Burst Engine, while also having some mana regen items or stats on these cards, so that's really great. Then we move on to the next card, which is a very unique card, and that is Mind Flow. The reason why we chose this, I want to reduce the guy's cooldown as much as possible once I'm over 50% mana. That is how this card works. You get 10% cooldown once you're over 50% mana. The initial stats of this card, 30 mana, helps with pretty much being over that 50% all the time, basic mana, and obviously the mana upgrades are there. So it's really great, and I really like this card due to the fact that I'm able to use my rewind ability more, use my Sonar Ping ability more, just use all my abilities in general, and also lower that cooldown on my ultimate, because that is insane. So that really helps with that. And then we move on to our warding item, which will be the Sage Ward. This is our official ward that we will use in our build from early game to the final stages of the game. So that gives us initial stats of 6 power and 60 health, and also with the unique active of placing a Shadow Wall for 3 minutes, and the charges on this card do refresh every 120 seconds and cooldown 1 second. Obviously fully upgrade bonus is 6 power, and we have Mage Strikes in the out so we can keep our damage up to date, because I feel like I'm lacking damage if I don't do that, so that's really great. So we have pretty much 12, 12, 12, plus this here having 7. That is the stats on those cards. And then we have the interesting part being Teleblink, Stasis Gem, Stinger Boost, Infinity Stream, and Hydro Reverser. There's reasons why we've chose all these cards. Teleblink, pretty much with the initial stacks of 0.3 mana, you're able to use it and activate to teleport forward. Also, you can't use this card once you get hit by the enemy heroes or taking any type of damage. So that's really great to have another card that gives you mobility. Teleblink works out really well for engaging in fights majority of the time, but you can also use it to escape depending on how you're using it. Stasis Gem, very good card if the enemy team is trying to jump you and assassinate you as quick as possible. This can save your life. These initial stats do provide 6 power. The active is becoming immune to damage and crowd control effects for 2.5 seconds. And during that time, you're unable to do anything because it obviously interrupts every type of ability or base attack or your movement when you do activate this ability. Pretty much you're in stasis and nothing will happen to you. So that's really great. With a cooldown of 6 seconds, and the ideal function of this is to neglect the damage output from enemy heroes. Then we have 2 minor cast upgrades on that. Followed up by Stinger Boost, which is obviously going to give us power or more damage overall, so that's really great. This card does have initial stacks of 60 and 11 attack speed, with upgrade bonuses of minor kinetic. Unique passive is Empower Basic. On ability cast, gain bonus ability damage on your next basic attack equal to 50 plus 20% of your power. Bonus damage buff will expire after 20 seconds, 1.5 seconds cooldown. So every 1.5 seconds after I use the ability, I get an amazing shot that I can use right after it with my Empower base attack to do more damage towards the enemy. Overall, damage output, insane. And also, these are the 2 cards that really work well, Infinity Stream alongside Hydroversa. But let's go into the cards and how they work. Infinity Stream, Mana Regen 0.3 and 2 Ability Pen as the initial stats, followed up by the upgrade bonus of Basic Chrono, pretty much giving me more Mana Regen. And the passive is increased Mana Regen based on your missing mana up to 3.6 Mana Regen. So the more missing mana I have, the more Mana Regen I will gain. And that would be really great because I need to get over 50% in order to pretty much get my 10% cooldown on my abilities with Mind Flow. Then we got Hydroversa, which will give us 0.3 Mana Regen initially, followed up by 60 health. And also the upgrade card on this is another Mana Regen card. And the unique passive is gain power equal to 7% of your current mana. So the more mana you have, obviously you get more damage output of this card. That's how it works. That's why it's really good, in my opinion. So the ideal for this, obviously there's a lot of cards right now. As you can see, a lot of cards. And they work in an interesting way. So I don't want to be strict. I hate being strict with my builds. And that is why I've done this. So pretty much I'm going to explain how you'd actually build your character when you're playing in the map of Monolith, or pretty much playing the game in Paragon. So once you start with the game, straight away get your Lord's Ward and drop that down as a dummy ward. Then come back to base. Then go to your cards and get the healer token and the mana pot. Once you got those 2 cards, you have sustain and pretty much sustain of mana and health. So it's really good overall. Then once you're back, depending on how much points you have, you get a Barrier token, or you can just neglect that. And if you have 4 points, you get the Imperial Mask. Or even if you have more points, you get a Blink Charm. The reason why, depending on your situation, if you want to be more tanky or neglect more energy damage, you get Barrier token. If you want Imperial Mask because you think you can be more flexible within your fights, go for that. Or you can get Blink Charm depending on the enemy players. If they're trying to jump you non-stop in the lane phase, Blink Charm is the best option because you'll be able to get out of those fights so easily. Then we move on to the next early game card, which will be a Sage Ward. You'll get that card, but you won't complete it. You only get that for vision on enemy wards because you want to delete the enemy wards so your team members that play in the jungle or pretty much rotate are clear. And also if you rotate, you are clear from those enemy wards as well. So it's really great. Sage Ward, get that, but don't complete that yet. Then you'll go for the Burst Engine and complete that card there. Obviously, depending on your situation, you can go the Sage Ward to gain more vision early game, but if you feel like you're wrecking the enemy laner, you go for the Burst Engine and complete that as quick as possible to get more damage output. Then you want to move on to your other Burst Engine cards. You can get those completed, both of them, or you can get one completed, then get Mind Flow, then complete the other. It is your choice. Mind Flow is a good card overall because of the cooldown reduction, and Burst Engines will give you more mana regen followed up by insane amounts of damage, which is great on this character because he lacks damage. His base attacks and obviously his knock-knock ability are the main sources of damage within his kit, so make sure you use those wisely. Then we have Mind Flow, as we said not long ago, 10% more cooldown once you have a 50% of mana. It works really well because this character has utility and all his abilities are really high on cooldown except for Knock Knock. So if you want to put more Sonar Pings or Sonar Wards, depending on what location you are, you can. You want to rewind more people, you can. If you want to use your ult more often, you can by having this card in your build. So that's why it's really great. Then we move on to the other side, which is more of a switch. And for some reason, if Mind Flow is not working for me, I can switch that card instantly and go for Teleblink. Teleblink is like my backup in case that doesn't work and I can't use the cooldown to its full effect. I'll just go to Teleblink straight away and use that as a resource to pretty much help me disengage out fights as well. Because at this stage, I would have Blink Charm at some point in the early game, because I'll usually get all this in the early game as much as possible. Barrier Token, I can neglect it or discard it pretty easily. Usually I'll get all this stuff just to play around the enemy hero. Then once I've done that, I'll discard the Blink Charm and go for the Teleblink. So I'll be able to use Teleblink against the enemies and it works out really well. Then also, I have 2 other options. I can go into my Stasis Gem plus Stinger Boost, or I can go to Infinity Stream plus Hydroversa, depending on the game. If I'm winning already, and I'll be more defensive while also doing crazy amounts of damage, Stasis Gem and Stinger Boost followed by Teleblink, a very good combo altogether. If I want to play more safe and play more of a utility character, obviously because this character has a lot of utility already in his kits, you can do that and just enhance that effect even more. So Mind Flow plus Infinity Stream and Hydroversa, or HV, or HIV, AIDS. This is my AIDS part of my build, I know. So HV is pretty good alongside Infinity Stream and Teleblink. It works out really well. Honestly, I think it works really darn well, because once you lose mana, you gain mana. But then once you have a 50% mana, you gain 10% cooldown, and obviously, Hydroversa has a unique passive of gaining power depending on your current mana, no matter what. This isn't active, so no matter what stage you are, you're gaining damage. 7% of your current mana becomes damage. So the more mana you have, the more damage and more things you're able to do. So this just helps out so much. So I feel like that's the ideal function of this build. Being able to be a constant threat to the enemy team, even though you're not doing as much damage as expected. Because this character, I feel like he lacks damage until he reaches the mid-game stages. But I still need to test the character even more, and pretty much learn him more and more and master his techniques, because he's really fun, and obviously I main Kalari because of the stealth, and this character is stealth, so I'm most likely maining this character as well. I've got the master challenge, I've got the skin and everything. So quick overview of the build, or pretty much a quick, strict idea of what you will get. So to start, Lord's Ward, then discard, then move on to Healer Token, Mana Pot for lane phase, followed by any of these options for lane phase depending on how you're going. Then you go for your Sage Ward, but don't complete it. Then go for your Burst Engine, then complete that. Then go for your other Burst Engines, or Mind Flow, or Sage Ward completion. Do those, get that damage output going. Then you can move on to your Teleblink if Mind Flow isn't working. If not, you keep Mind Flow, then go into Stasis Gem or Stinger Boost, Infinite Stream, or Hydroversa. 2x2, this combo here, or this combo here, you choose depending on your playstyle and how you feel in that current game. If you be more aggressive and more defensive at the same time, this 3 combo here is nice. Or if you want to be more consistent with your abilities and be a non-stop threat while using your abilities, Mind Flow, Infinity Stream, and HV or HIV are pretty good. And that completes our build. So those are all the cards we have in our build. Pretty insane. Tell me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, because I want to know how you guys feel about this build. Because personally, I feel like this is a very great build. Maybe one of the best builds for the mid lane, because I'm able to mix up constantly against the people I'm versing, so they never know what build I'm going to have by the end of the game. And I find it really entertaining when using this character and this build at the same time. But tell me your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below, especially if you're going to use the build as well, and what your experience was with the build. So mates, if you did enjoy this video, show us by smashing that button like button. Let's try to get 200 likes on this video. Thanks for watching more Paragon Gaming content and Paragon Gaming news and gaming content in general on my channel. All you have to do is share this with your friends and hit the subscribe button to become a mate today. That is all for this video. Oh, time's go, but don't you worry. I'm back very soon. Hang tight, boys, because ain't seen nothing yet. Mates, I'm pretty exhausted for some reason. I think because the heat is on, I'm sweating, but I'm making sure that I play so many games of this new character so I understand every mechanic he does have, because we have some secret techniques already, and I can't believe it actually works. But we're going to tell you guys in the next video when we do a gameplay video in the mid lane as Wraith. It's going to be insane, especially when I get those 360 no-scopes.